Hello and welcome to another episode of Super Lady Hero Hour. I'm your host, Yael Teagle. I'm joined by my amazing co-host, KB. Hello, KB.
Hello, hello. Thanks everyone for joining today's show. We are back after some incredible storms, technical difficulties, and so much more, but here to talk about this week and last week's superhero content. So we have the series finale of Black Lightning, plus DC's Legend of Tomorrow, The Flash, Batwoman, Superman, and Lois. But first, let's get into some news. So kicking it off with some big Marvel news. The Eternals had their teaser trailer drop. I'm intrigued. I mean, listen, it reads just like Chloe's other films do. So it seems like it's going to be dramatic and heroic, but also funny and also with powers. And I just feel like it's going to be a good mix. What are you thinking about this Eternals teaser trailer?
I'm so excited. It looks beautiful. It looks like it needs to be on a big screen. It looks cinematic. I cannot wait to see what this is. It is an all-star cast full of Oscar winners. It's going to be directed by an Oscar winner. It's going to be phenomenal. I don't even know what it's about, and I'm so excited.
One thing Chloe does know how to do, though, is get that cinematography right. Whoever's the cinematographer on this particular film, I don't know, just every time I watch one of her films, that's what stands out most to me is that it's genuinely breathtaking. And so I am looking forward to seeing that because this is going to be what I feel like is, I don't want to say a large departure, but it is going to be a departure from campy style MCU films, if that makes sense. This is very much like a top tier from a cinematic aspect, MCU film. And not saying that the other ones are top tier, but I just think in terms, it just looks visually, it's just very different. That's the only way I know how to put it. So.
Absolutely. I think it's gonna be very different. It's gonna be beautiful. I am excited to find out what it's gonna be about. I'm so excited.
The origins. I do love that they threw in a joke at the end, who's gonna lead the Avengers? Because
Yeah, I saw a lot of people talking about that on Twitter, discussing wait a second, you've been around, you weren't involved.
You're always around. So I love this. And also shout out to Gemma Chan being top billed. I saw that on the poster and I was like, ooh, yes, you better do it. You better get this Marvel money and make a run for it. I absolutely adored her in Crazy Rotations. So absolutely, yes.
Gemma Chan. Over on the CW, we have some scoop about the fall schedule. So a lot of things are changing. I guarantee our record date will change based on what's coming. But also, we've confirmed that Naomi is happening. That is the big scoop that we can confirm. Painkiller is not going forward. Also, the Powerpuff, which, as you know, I have been on top of this Powerpuff news since day one. The pilot was shot. It was not what they wanted. They're redoing it. So that's exciting. Also, we're going to get a holiday movie, Bebo Saves Christmas. And the season is starting with a 5-episode event. The Flash is doing 5 episodes, if I understand correctly. And it's going to be a 5-episode, essentially crossover style thing. What are your thoughts on all of this CW scoop?
Yeah, the CW's wild. So they also actually announced that they're going to now officially be doing 7 days worth of programming. Mm-hmm. So they will now be putting original content on Saturdays, which they actually never done before. This is wild. My biggest thing is I actually don't understand logistically how this is going to work. So Mark Fenwitz, if you want to have a conversation, let's, because technically we are still in fall season, which I said multiple times will roll over into summer, which will then again roll over into fall. And I keep thinking where the production breaks, then where, like, how are we doing this rollout? Because it seems wild. And also, again, to, for the first time in history, obviously they will have original content on in the summer. So all of it just feels ambitious. But I'm wildly excited about Naomi. I'm super disappointed about Painkiller. I really liked the way they were tying it in. We'll get into the series finale of Black Lightning here shortly, but I am disappointed that Painkiller is not going to be moving forward. I was adoring the way that they were, kind of keeping Painkiller in the mix to make it kind of seamless. Love that. Still just meh on the Powerpuff, and clearly the CW was too about that pilot. But the fact that they're reinvesting in this pilot is interesting. And I was doing the NBCU upfronts, and they were saying that they have chosen to just kind of extended pilot season to be year round versus like a specific time of year. So it makes me wonder if that's what the CW is doing now that they are, just saying, well, we'll give Powerpuff another shot. It doesn't really seem like it's going to be for, pilot season specifically, but maybe they're opening their floodgates the way NBC is doing from now on. But a Christmas special makes sense. And this 5-episode event, something that the Flashes do. The Flash is about to head into their 150th episode. I've said here multiple times that I do feel like next season should be the final season of the Flash. I'm excited that they're getting 150 episodes, but let's be real. Carlos is leaving next episode. So that happened a lot sooner than I anticipated because I thought it would be there for the rest of the season. It has been confirmed that Jessica Parker Kennedy is coming back as XS. So their daughter is returning. So it makes sense. And then we have Impulse coming, Jordan Fisher, in those same episodes that Nora will be present as well. So, it makes sense. This event makes sense because it is now the grandfather show, so to speak. But yeah, I have no idea what this is going to be going forward. And I've had some people ask kind of online, will Naomi be in the Arrowverse or the CW verse? And I don't think we know. I don't think that's clear yet. So
I agree. I don't think that's clear. This Bebo thing, it really bums me out. So I love Bebo. I hate Christmas. Like, this is such a bittersweet announcement. I'm like, a Bebo movie. Oh, it's Christmas. I know it is the least important of all of this news, but it is the most, confusing for me.
See, and I love Christmas. So I'm thrilled. I mean, there have been a few Christmas announcements this week, a few Christmas content announcements, which I'm all in for. Naturally, it's May, and please tell me more about Christmas already. So, yes, we differ in that regard. But, hopefully it's still going to be a good kind of fun time. I am still very much concerned about these production schedules. Because again, I'm like,
you're right. That said, we got to remember pre-COVID, this is the network that did do a 5-episode, 5-story, all of their shows crossover. Like this network, it does ambitious things. So I have faith in them. I have faith that they are taking care of their casting crew and that it will be great. I agree with you about Painkiller, and we'll talk more about that as we get into Black Lightning. And this Powerpuff thing, I'll say this. We talked about it before. I really wanted it to have the visual aesthetics of Riverdale with the wackiness of Legends. And the script was leaked. I've seen parts of it. I think that if they had leaned into how ridiculous that script was, then we could have gotten the ridiculousness of Legends. But it seems that it was on the fence and trying to be too serious, which now I guess they want them to. I believe the quote was that it was too campy, which seems like the opposite direction. Do not make it less campy, is my suggestion.
I have no idea. Literally, I have no opinions on this because I'm like, I don't necessarily need a live action version of Powerpuff Girls, but. Sure. I adore the animated. I'm fine with leaving it there. If they would have made this animated, I would have been like, oh, an animated reboot. Yay, let's add some additional elements. I don't know. But yeah, we'll see. I mean, I guess that's all we can do. Technically, though, it still has not been picked up to series. Like, it's not like they said, oh, you know, like, we don't like this pilot, but we want the series. So, like, it could never come to fruition, I guess,
Absolutely.
too, with, like, the second go round. But
And regardless, the pilot that is not going forward should be released. That's all.
I knew that you were going to say that. I want to see this full script then. Like, I want to be able to read it. So share that with me later.
Well, before we dive into all of these shows today, consider this your full spoiler warning. We're talking about multiple episodes for multiple shows. So if you have not seen them, this is where you stop and come back later. We'll be starting with Superman and Lois, which returned last week. Here are the quick caps for episode 6, Broken Trust. Clark reconsiders his decision to let Jordan play football. Lois continues investigating Morgan Edge, which requires her to trust an unexpected ally. The quick cap for episode 7, Man of Steel. Clark struggles to help Jordan, who is grappling with a new power. Lois enlists Clark's help, which leads to a surprise encounter. All right. What did you think of these 2 episodes? This was the mid-season return?
Yeah, these were the first 2 mid-season returns after a very long hiatus, 8 weeks. And I still really am intrigued by Superman and Lois. So have they gotten renewed? Because I don't think they've gotten renewed for a season.
I believe they have.
Have they? I'm not sure. Either way, I am digging it because I like that they lean into the teen angst. I like that they lean into the teen drama. The one thing I can say is this reveal of Luther not being Luther and being Jeremy Irons and literally
John Henry Irons.
Sorry, John Henry Jeremy Irons, not the actor. Wow.
That'd be amazing.
I was like, definitely not the actor. But yes, leaning into him being the literal Man of Steel, also based on his name, was an interesting way to go. You know, I have said numerous times, I don't need this version of him that's obsessed with Lois because Lois is his wife on another, you know, planet or universe or whatever they're doing. I still don't need it. But it is this father-daughter dynamic is pretty intriguing to me. So we don't know, you know, kind of where his daughter is. And we do know that he said he'd be right back. And clearly that has not happened yet. So I am curious to see kind of where that goes. I'm also curious to kind of know, you know, they definitely said he worked for Luthor Corps, but there has to be a deeper connection somewhere. And so I am curious to see how that kind of plays out and ties together. You know, right now it's pretty boring for their kids, though. I'm not even gonna lie. It's mostly just Jordan trying to figure out how to adjust to his hearing and being jealous of Jonathan always, which is so wild to me because Jonathan literally has 0 friends right now. So I'm like, okay. I mean, like, it's not like his life is booming right now. Like when you guys were in Metropolis, yes, but you're in Smallville and he's literally starting from scratch. So, okay. And he has no powers, but sure. So it is just, yeah, it's pretty boring for their kids. I will say, you know, it's funny seeing this dynamic of Clark because I appreciate how much he relies on Lois. That was evident in both of these episodes. I do think it's odd how he's still surprised when she says, oh, I almost got murdered. Like every week she almost gets murdered, but every week he's surprised. I'm like, this is how she's been living her life since you met her.
Right.
So like that element of surprise doesn't make sense to me. But okay. And the thing that I'm constantly thinking about, honestly, on both shows, every single episode is how do they have money? Because clearly Lois is not getting paid at this job.
Right.
And Clark is a stay-at-home father / Superman. And if we've learned anything from superhero genre and content, they do not get paid for saving the world.
Right.
So how? Because literally everyone in Smallville is struggling financially.
Yeah.
That's the whole topic of conversation. So I'm like, how? How are you guys? How? But I am curious to see also how Lois and Lana continue to team up. This super army situation that Morgan Edge is putting together is still also not very clear. So I'd still say my biggest complaint is what are we headed towards? Like what where are we going? That's still going to be my biggest complaint.
Absolutely. I agree with you that the high school, you know how I feel about that. The Jonathan Jordan thing, it's getting less interesting by the moment. Especially like with Sarah and Tad and like all, I'm like, I don't care. But I will say that this reveal that Luther wasn't Luther, that he was John Henry Irons, that he is Steel, that he's from what it looks like is another Earth, where Clark was never, I guess, adopted and raised by the Kents and never met Lois and never, became human. And so, or found humanity, I guess. And so it seems like we kind of have this really great reveal of who he is and what his issues are, why he's anti-Superman, that this Superman is going to turn. I like that. I feel like at the end of this episode, because on his Earth, he was kind of a superhero, like he was fighting the bad guys. So I like that on our Earth, he still thinks of himself as the hero, like he's here to save our Earth. And so the idea that we see him as a villain makes me think that eventually we'll add him to our team and go after Morgan Edge together. Like that's what I assume is where we're going, is that he and Morgan Edge are going to end up battling it out with help of our Superman. I will agree with you that his daughter and him were interesting. She was the best part of these 2 episodes. I was like, who is this? I want more of her. Why is she not on our Earth? What's going on with her? She was really the most interesting part. And she better not be dead, because I want to see more of her. She was great.
I mean, can I guarantee that she's not dead? No. Are we often disappointed in this genre? Yes.
How dare you?
So I can't tell you. I can't tell you that she's alive, but I also did like her.
She was really fantastic. I agree with you on this. Lois, Lois is being Lois, and she's always, I feel like her storyline is the only one that's like moving. I also loved at the end when they're like, we've asked you not to ever keep secrets from us, so now we're going to not keep secrets from you. If I were their kids, I would have been like, you asked us not to keep secrets from you, but now you're like, and now we're going to do the same. So rude. So rude.
Yeah. I kind of feel like that's definitely not the right plan. Like, they're also still teenagers. So the fact that she's like, oh, anything we say here can't leave this house. I'm like, you're putting a lot of faith into teenage boys who like will make mistakes and probably shouldn't be carrying this heavy of a load, I guess, if I'm being honest, in this burden. Yeah. I do think there should be balance, right? Like, so I do not think they should keep secrets, because had they not kept a secret earlier in the episode, it would not have been left up to Jordan and Jonathan to save their father had they already known what was going on. But instead, Jordan just heard and then, had to act. So I think it should be balanced, but like some of these things y'all actually probably cannot tell them and probably should not tell them, just off the strength of they are still kids who like will probably tell their friends or tell someone else, because we can all see the very first person who's going to find out is definitely going to be Lana's daughter.
Oh yeah. So, she's gonna find out everything real soon.
Right. So it's kind of like, that deal we just made. And now we have to what? Protect someone else. And then hope she doesn't what? Tell her parents. And then, and the cycle continues. So it's like, all right, well.
Do we think Lana will know by end of season?
I think both her and her daughter will. And I don't think that they will necessarily know that the other one knows, but I think that they will both know.
I like that. All right, well, let's rate this episode. Here on Super Lady Hero Hour, we rate everything on a scale from poop to kittens. So, KB, where do you rate the 2 episodes of Superman and Lois?
Yeah, I'm going to give it, a kitten overall. I think that like both episodes, I enjoyed them. I wasn't really bored except for like parts of the high school thing. But for the most part, it's interesting. I'm glad that we finally have Mr. Iron's backstory. So now we kind of understand where he's coming from. I do like your idea of the sense that like, he kind of starts off as a hero on his Earth, and therefore, he believes that he is such on this one. Naturally, they need him. So like, I think at the end of the day, what Lois has determined is that he is a valuable resource. So they do need each other when it comes to taking down Morgan Edge. However, I do think that he will become a villain of sorts kind of after they've used him to his advantage, if that makes sense, to their advantage rather. I think that like they need certain things, you know, like he's seen this before on his Earth. He knows how it happens. So they need that intel and that insight. But after they're done with that, like I'm pretty sure that he's going to have a couple of problems and it won't sit well. So how about you? How are you feeling about the episodes?
So interesting what you said. Yeah, I'm also going to give it a kitten. The first episode for me was more of a spoon. It was less exciting. There's a lot of football, and we all know how I feel about sports. So but the second one not only had his daughter, who I'm here for, but also reveals, and we all know I'm impatient. So like, that's how you win me over, is give me the info I want. Because we like have this understanding of what Morgan Edge is doing now. He is building the super army. We have Lana giving him these candidates. Like, I really appreciated that. And us learning who Steel or Irons, this dude, not Luther, who he is. I really liked the way that they were like, Luther, what does he have to do with Luther? Is he a Luther? Wait a second, what's going on? And then it turns out that he's not. And from what it sounded like, and maybe I misunderstood, he had and his daughter built the suit specifically for Lex to wear. And that makes me want to know how well he knows Lex.
Right, exactly. That's my thing. I feel like there's a deeper connection than what we've been told. So
yeah. All right. Any other predictions you want to throw in?
Listen, no, it just seems like next episode, based on the preview alone, you know, that this is going to be like a part 2 of learning about Steele's background, because you see him kind of in this, I don't want to call it a spaceship, but that's what it really felt like when I was watching it.
Yeah.
This spaceship type deal. So I think we'll get more of the answers that we seek about him and his personal relationship to Lex and more. What about you?
Yeah. I agree. The promo really made it seem like we're going to understand, because when we first met him, we understood that he was a captain, I guess. So he was in a leadership position in military, and he gave the pendant to Lois's dad. So I think we're going to learn about his military history. So what happened between him building the suit and making it to our Earth. So I'm really excited for that reveal. Hopefully it's next week and not more episodes where I have to be impatient.
You know, patience is a virtue. Okay.
And I don't have it.
So now that we are done talking about Superman and Lois, let's move into DC's Legends of Tomorrow. Here is the quick cap for the 3rd episode, The X Factor. The Legends try to stop an alien invasion by traveling to 2045 and having Zari perform in a TV talent show. And the quick cap for episode 4, Bay of Squids, in 1962 Cuba. The Legends try to get history back on track when Fidel Castro gets a nuclear warhead. So how are you feeling about both of these episodes?
I feel the opposite about these the way that I felt about Superman and Lois. I loved the X Factor. I thought that was such a fun, it was very, very Legendsy, right? We had fun costumes, we had musical numbers, we had shenanigans. It was really great. Personally, I feel like Bay of Squids was too history heavy. And it took me a while to like kind of follow along because I am not familiar with the Cuban Missile Crisis history. And so I was less excited by it, but I love this show and it's so fun and wacky, and it, in my mind, can do no wrong. That said, it's interesting that the 2nd episode did not give us any progress on the Sarah storyline, whereas the 1st episode, like, you know, gave us, I feel like it ended it with a big kind of cliffhangery of who's this, what's happening. And then we didn't come back to it, which is a bummer. And as we just said, I'm not patient. So what did you think about these episodes?
So I adored the X Factor. I loved the throne competition. I thought it was great. It was nice to kind of have Constantine have a little bit more to do in the X Factor competition. And them with their kind of DTR relationship status, like how do we define this relationship and do we want it to move forward? All of that was interesting. It definitely still pushed this where is Sarah narrative.
Mhm.
How do we get Sarah back? You know, like that whole thing. This episode, I was bored. I actually do know about the history of the Cuban Missile Crisis, but I still was just like, you know, kind of what was the point? You know, to your point, you know, Rory definitely shined in this episode. So
Yeah.
I appreciate that, because it's not very often that we get to see Rory kind of be front and center and be the head of a task, essentially. So that was good. But yeah, overall, I was just kind of like, okay, it's nice that he's kind of met his match in the Alien, because she is 100% like the female version of Rory, which is wild. But yeah, it was okay. Like, I mean, I kind of was like, I could have done without this episode, and we could have skipped to whatever the next one is going to be, if I'm being honest.
Absolutely. The last moments where Rory's like, I'm taking the ship. I've got, you know, I've got this alien. I'm going on this journey. Like, that was interesting. Everything else, like you know, the Russian nurse, alien autopsy, the JFK was awful. Like,
terrible. The worst JFK I've ever seen.
Right.
I was like, no.
Genuinely the worst. Even the one from Timeless, which was not good, was better than this.
I did not watch that show, but
JFK was not good. Very nice man, not good JFK. But so yeah, it's very interesting. This arc that we've given to Rory through these 2 episodes and where that's going. I cannot wait to see where that goes. I think that, you know, the Zari Constantine drama, personally, I'm not a big fan of. So I appreciated that he wasn't even in the 2nd episode. But Sarah is our MacGuffin. That's who we're after this whole season. And she wasn't in the 2nd episode either, which I felt was disappointing.
Yeah. So let's rate it. I mean,
Okay.
you know, kind of, how are you feeling about these 2 episodes?
I'm still gonna give it a kitten, but it's leaning towards a spoon, because I love Legends Tomorrow, and their jokes, I think, are just so funny. And you know, seeing Behrad being mistaken for Che was very funny. His love of pot gummies is great. I also really love this new character, and she's so fun. And to see her trying to be part of the team and dealing with them is also really exciting. And I cannot wait to see where this alien takes us. But yeah, I think I'm going to stick with a kitten. It still was enjoyable. It was less enjoyable, but it was enjoyable. What about you? Where are you giving them?
I'm going to go with a spoon, because I feel like that's going to be the perfect balance of both for me. You know, I really enjoyed the X Factor. Also, those performances were really good. So yes, but I did not enjoy this episode. So I think the perfect mix for me is going to be a spoon in the middle, in between. And it really was only because of this week's past episode. So I am hoping that they turn this ship around, quite literally. And, you know, next episode is much better.
Well, let's talk about next episode. Based on the promo, it looks like the team is stuck in the years that they were left at Constantine's house, just trying to live, which feels so.
I know. I'm like, I don't know. It doesn't necessarily feel like it's going to tie in the way I'm hoping.
Yeah, it feels like, I like a bottle episode when it is like a time loop, or when it moves the plot in some way, when the stakes are super high. This feels like a bottle episode for the sake of keeping production costs down.
Listen, it does. I don't believe that it's going to give me what I desire in terms of moving the plot and storyline forward. But I guess we'll wait and see it next week, which is going to be a wild and interesting week, because there are only 2 shows next week.
This week we have double the episodes.
Right. And then next week, you know, it's like, so yeah, so interesting.
Yeah. Well, let's take it over to Batwoman now. We have just 1 episode. Here's the quick cap for the 14th episode, and Justice for All. Batwoman is faced with a new challenge when Gotham addicts become ravenous for more than the next fix. What did you think of this episode?
I really, really like this episode of Batwoman. I know some people did not because there is a lot of things that happen politically, but I really enjoyed it. I think that it's hard to do an episode like this, but I think that it was the most natural course of action. There's no way that you can have a Black Batwoman and not address this in some capacity, especially someone with a prior record like Ryan has, and then who's changed her life and doing good, and kind of really stepping into the role of being this Batwoman of her own, and still not have that. It just really speaks to the climate that has gone on in this country for decades. Like it doesn't matter the type of person that you are. At the end of the day, there's still a lot of corruption that happens, a lot of corruption, a lot of death, and a lot of things that happen. And we get to see kind of the full circle of that in this particular episode. So I know that Luke is not dead, but it still doesn't make it any easier, for this episode, because he was trying to be helpful. And, Mary was like, just leave it alone and kind of go home. It's late, don't engage. And then this guy who they met in jail, who is, an ally, then, turns around and is like, oh no, he's trying to steal this car.
Right.
Which that part really pissed me off. And, then he gets shot by the police, when he got shot by the Crows, not the police. He got shot by the Crows when he was trying to, just pull out his phone. So it really sucks. And I appreciate that they had a conversation between Ryan and Luke and Sophie, just because I do think Ryan oftentimes lives on an island. And, she's constantly thinking about how her experience as a Black woman, and I don't want to say dominates, but it sometimes feels that way, like how her experience is just more heartbreaking or more this than everyone else. I don't know any other way to put it, but it often feels like that, like even when Mary had to sit her down and be like, this hate that you have, it's taking over your heart and it's not working out. I appreciated that, Luke was like, it is not that I don't see the injustices are happening, but I have had to learn how to cope from a different point of view than you. And Sophie bringing in her perspective and saying, I had to learn how to do this in a different way from you. I think the three of them having that transparent conversation, although it should not have been in jail, but them having that transparent conversation about how they have shared lived experiences from all being Black, but they approach things very differently because of their life experiences, was a really intriguing conversation. And I just think the episode was really well done. Also shout out to my boo Ocean, for killing Enigma. I really, it sucks because I get why, while she's upset, why,
Alice,
sister Beth Alice, I keep calling her Beth Alice, why she's upset.
Yeah.
But I get why Ocean did it. Actually, Ocean did it for her and in the name of love. So I was like, oh, look at you being romantic. But, here we are. So how did you feel about the episode?
So I agree with you that this conversation was necessary. I do love that we had it from 3 different perspectives because everyone's story is different. I personally would not have done it in an episode about zombies. I think that was not where I would have put it. I would have given it, first of all, I would have done it much earlier. And second of all, I would have given it the time and energy and focus. I felt like they were like, this is where we're sticking this. And that bums me out. And I guess as much as I would have liked it earlier, I do understand that we've given Sophie this arc where she decides she's going to leave. So like, fine, keep it where it is. But not in an episode about zombies. Like that.
I forgot about the zombies while I was watching it. No, truly, I did. It wasn't really like the zombies were there, but I guess my focus was more so on that storyline. But I get what you're saying.
But so I was into it, and they were in the jail cell, and I was like, this is fascinating, and this conversation is really, amazing. And then they were like, oh, zombies are eating people, we have to go. And I was like, we were just okay. So like, I personally didn't like these storylines to go together. That's my opinion. Also, this might be a weird thing to say, but I feel like in a place where you have a masked vigilante that can help you defeat zombies, you think about like, okay, at this moment, zombies are taking over. We will release all Black women from jail right now, just in case, because Batwoman hasn't arrived. Maybe so like that would have been helpful. I just feel like as crows, like you're like, we need her. Where is she? She's abandoned us. What could have stopped her?
I mean, the whole thing, so it's twofold. Like, again, I get why it's this episode, because I also think that Sophie has worked so hard in her career that she knows that she's a Black woman, and she's worked so hard to change the narrative about being a crow and being in this position as a Black woman. It takes her getting arrested to realize that like that system is still broken for her. So like, you know what I mean? Like I get that piece, but you're right. So I don't think they thought it through. Unless, I don't know, I still very much struggle with the whole secret identity thing in general on all of the shows, because I don't think they're done well. And so my entire time, I'm always like, no, that woman's in jail. Like, I mean, stop. Like, you know that woman's in jail. But, I mean, I guess they don't. I don't know. I struggle with it because I feel like, how could you not? Essentially. But.
Yeah. But I agree with you about the Enigma thing. It makes sense that Ocean did it. And I'm here for it, because I feel like her character was kind of too easy to keep around. Like it made things too easy to keep her there. So I like that we got rid of her. And the Luke thing, I'm on the edge of my seat. You seem to believe, for whatever reason, that he's not dead. I'm on the edge of my seat and hope he is not.
No. I mean, Luke has a long history from a canon comic perspective, and actually in the comics he does become a superhero of his own. And I would like to see us get there, but also, like, there are no clear signs that Luke would die as of yet. And I say that to say, on the Flash they brought in another person, right, to make room for Carlos's departure as Cisco. There are no other people who do anything like that on that one. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
So I feel like, he's pretty safe right now until the moment we get someone else to come in and, trains, and then you're like, all right, well, someone's leaving.
That's fair. That's fair. I'm still on the edge of my seat.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it was still riveting TV, and I'm actually glad that like we get to see more like different layers. I did not want Luke to be shot, but I am excited to see different layers from this character in particular, which I feel like this kind of traumatic event will change him fundamentally in a lot of ways, and maybe that is the catalyst for him becoming a superhero. I don't know. And I don't often believe, and I'm going to say this, and it's twofold. I don't necessarily believe that we have to see Black people in trauma in order to get them to a certain state.
Absolutely.
Because that is exhaustive in media. But I have appreciated Luke's character from the very beginning. I still do. And I do hope that they continue to kind of show additional character growth beyond this.
Yeah, I agree. Well, let's rate this.
All right. How you feeling? I know you hate those zombies, so
I didn't need the zombies. Everything else was like the episode was great. We could have done fine without the zombies. I'm still giving it a kitten because, aside from zombies, it was fantastic. It was a good episode. It was, it was thought provoking. It moved the story forward. Um, I we've been building all season to Sophie leaving the Crows, so like her deciding it was time was nice. Whether it happens or not, we'll see. And yeah, I enjoyed this. What about you? Where are you giving it?
Definitely giving it a kitten. I really, really enjoyed this episode. Really cannot wait for June to come, which honestly don't have to wait much longer because it's next week. But I say that and say that in 2 weeks, they will have a brand new episode again. So I'm looking forward to seeing, Luke's journey and what comes of that. So do you have any predictions for Luke's journey?
I have no predictions for Luke's journey. I hope he's alive. He probably is, but I hope he is. I would love to see Papa Kane leave.
It's crazy how we're constantly talking about how we don't care for him, and he survives every episode. So
I know, it's wild.
Wild.
I'd be okay with him not surviving.
Yes, I think that we've mentioned that, or just taking a backseat, or he doesn't even have to die. He could just leave. I mean, like Batman left. Like, I mean, right. He could just leave. I don't know. That's the best way to put it. All right. Well, let's talk about the final 2 episodes ever of Black Lightning. So here's the quick cap for the 13th episode, the Book of Resurrection, Chapter 1, Crossroads. Jefferson realizes that sometimes an admission of weakness can be a show of strength. Tobias is focusing on an endgame and the 14th and series finale, the Book of Resurrection, Chapter 2, Closure. After 4 seasons, the game-changing, relevant, and electrifying series comes to an end. Wow, I like how they gave away nothing in the series finale. Quick cap. So, how did you feel about the final 2 episodes of the series?
Honestly, these last episodes of Black Lightning have been my absolute favorites because they have been like, here is the plot. Here's where we're going. Here's what's happening. This is going to happen. So I was here for it. I loved the way that we wrapped things up. I was down for a lot of these things. As we said, the Painkiller storyline was fascinating. It got very good. I got very into it and I was like, all right, I'm into this. And it's not going forward, which is such a bummer. I did like the way that they wrapped it up, the way that they were like, we're going to erase the memory of the Pierce family so that his show can start fresh. Like that was honestly, I was like, ooh, so smart. They were like, we're going to be ready in case it happens. I loved that. Lynn and her, all of her, everything was kind of a letdown. But other than that, I think that I really enjoyed these 2 episodes. I like where we went. I like what we did. I liked all of it, except I was really excited for the return of China Anne McClain. Like, what a great reappearance for the finale. How fun. I did not need JJ to have been some evil entity that needed a body. I also didn't need that reveal in the series finale. I would have been fine with her coming back and being like, you're only half of me. Like, we are halves of a person. We need to come together. The fight was cool. I would have been cool with her being like, I don't want to come back together. I want to stay my own separate person. But the idea that later, at the end of the episode, the end of the series, Jennifer is like mad at everybody for not realizing that it wasn't her. We're at the end of the series. We don't need this. We don't need this argument right now. So that was my one thing that I was not cool with. Jefferson and Tobias finally having it out was really nice. How easy it was to kill Tobias was kind of a surprise. But also when he was on the thing and he was shooting at Black Lightning, I was like, just move. He can't aim. He's stuck. Just move. But no, he let him shoot him. What did you think about these last 2 episodes?
Yeah, so these 2 episodes were also some of my favorites. A couple things though. One, I've been kind of rooting for Tobias to die way earlier and let's let some additional villains in. I The way he died and then aged like 100 years as soon as he died was odd. Like the way his face aged after death immediately, that was really weird to me. Also, I kind of feel like I never really understood Tobias's full totality of his plan, I guess. Like I got to the end and I was kind of like, meh. Lala coming back to life for the millionth time, just to be like, ooh, somebody finally killed you, was like, meh. But again, we don't know where this would have gone had Painkiller got picked up, I guess. Jen and JJ, so I know how much you adore JJ. And, you know, again, I think that actress did a good job. Being an evil entity, I think, should have been revealed in the penultimate episode versus the finale so we could deal with it. I think something that I felt like was lacking in the finale is that we did not get to see the family's response to Jen. Yes. And I feel like that's something I really would have wanted to see, because here's this, you thought she was dead. Here comes JJ. Here comes Jen again. They just was like, ooh, girl, we sorry. Like, well, what? I mean, like, where was I understand that they probably didn't have enough time, and that could have been a scene that got, you know, cut on the cutting room floor or dropped on the cutting room floor, whatever the expression is. But I just was like, I would have preferred to see that. Yeah, I feel like Lynn's journey has been very interesting over the course of the 4 seasons, but it just kind of just ended. I mean, I don't really know.
And they're getting remarried. Ta-da!
Yeah, which, yay, they should get remarried, because high key, their kids have thought they were remarried this whole time. I mean, and maybe the viewers too, you know, because it's just been this love affair that has happened, even though we did know that they were divorced, but Jefferson wouldn't take off his ring. And, you know, like,
I don't think I knew that they were divorced.
Oh, you didn't know they were divorced? Oh,
I knew they were separated. I knew that they were going to get divorced. Them being like, we're getting remarried. I'm like, this feels like an unnecessary step. You're practically still married.
They are. And so, you know, it's like, okay, but him passing on the baton to the kids makes sense. But I also just kind of feel like for Anissa and Grace, it was even still kind of like, okay, so we had this extra party, which kind of was like, did we already have a party?
Also, just real quick about this party. This party was for them, yes? For the fact that they got married?
There were no other people there? I don't know. I guess
they don't have
the whole
friends.
time.
They don't have friends, but it was for their marriage, yes?
I think so. I mean, that wasn't totally clear.
Also wearing white.
I don't know. Well, technically, so was Lynn. Like, everyone
Lynn was wearing red.
Oh, I thought she was in a white dress.
No, I was very confused.
Well, child, I don't know. But all I know is I just kind of felt like even their story just ended. But I'm guessing the hope was that they would reappear in Painkiller in some form. So, yeah, I just feel like the most gratifying, I think, end was Painkiller, in my personal opinion, in this. Absolutely. But I didn't hate it. I did love it. I loved how Jefferson, you know, kind of going back in his thoughts to connect with his father, gives him the strength to use the lightning that's already in his body and come out swinging and kill Tobias. I think was really amazing. So, and also, you know, one of my favorite things this entire series is always the music. And the music in this final episode was top tier. I mean, I really was dancing the whole time because these are songs that I've grown up with, and it was just really good. So I adored that. But, you know, overall, sad to see them go.
Yeah.
Like, was really hoping, you know, there was potential with Painkiller. But the silver lining is all of these characters are still available to, you know, play now that we do have the one universe, allegedly, because even that still feels like sometimes on these shows that's not true. Right. But you know, they can all play in different TV shows, and I'm hoping they do utilize it. And you know, a little someone may have mentioned, Cress may have mentioned that the showrunner of The Flash has already asked him if he would be willing to, you know, come on and don the suit. So I do think in this 5-part crossover, we may see some of the Pierces, you know, pop up.
Right. I agree. Well, let's rate this for the final 2 episodes of Black Lightning. Where are you rating them?
They're going to be a kitten for me. How about you? How are you rating them?
Yeah, I agree. Honestly, the only thing that bugged me was that we introduced this evil entity thing at the last minute. I did like that China returned. Like, I loved that. I was so excited. And and Lala still being alive. I was like,
Right.
this is
Why?
how we end. We end with Lala still being
But
alive.
the fight sequences, were top tier in this final one, and I love that. Top tier. So
Absolutely.
for sure.
Well,
no predictions, because guess what? We ain't got nothing else.
Yeah. All right. That takes us to The Flash. Here's the quick out for the 10th episode, Family Matters Part 1. Iris is pushed to the limit as she seeks to uncover the mysterious truth about Psyche. Barry initiates a new training system that could potentially backfire. Joe and Cisco make life-altering decisions. And the quick up for episode 11, Family Matters Part 2, Barry and Iris come together to try and stop a dangerous force from destroying Central City. What did you think about Family Matters Part 1 and 2?
Child, why? That's mostly how I felt about them.
That's fair. Would you like me to start?
There's so many things happening in this show that I find to be quite unnecessary this season. This idea of these people being their kids is still, I don't want to use the word creepy, but that's the only word that I have in my mind. Like, it is not necessary to call them your kids. Like, it's not. The fact that they call them mom and dad, like, it's not. I get that they're entities, but we could just say creator. Like, I mean, I don't know. But, like, it just is weird every time they call each other, hey, little sister, hey, brother. Like, I don't know why I don't like it. I don't know. But it's
because even people that are brother and sister don't say that.
Yes. I don't know. Like, just let it happen organically. And they're like, so what should we do now, Dad? Like, that's not necessary. Like, just say, what should we do? I just feel like, I don't know. So that's weird. Joe quitting was real surprising to me, because now I'm like, what is Joe going to do? And is Joe just going to be a permanent member of Team Flash? Well, Joe, that doesn't come with a pension. And Joe just walked away, put his badge on the table after like 35, maybe even 40 years. And I'm like, so you just walked away from this pension though, Joe? Like, that's really all I keep thinking in my head. Like, y'all got a baby at home, or a small child, a toddler, whatever. I don't know how old that kid is, but you have a small child. Cecile's still working. What you gonna do with your time, Joe? You gonna be a stay-at-home dad, but also you let that pension go. So I just keep thinking about the repercussions of this. The writing's been on the wall with Cisco, so that is like, okay, right. You decided to take a job, it makes sense. But Joe really felt like left field. Like, Joe don't have a job now? Like, wait, what? So it just, I don't know. Like, I don't understand where it's going. The forces fighting and then ending up having to come back together in Family Matters Part 2 in order to manage. But also I feel like, here's my biggest issue. Here are 4 people. Well, minus, is it the Still Force, the one that's the high school student, the high school boy?
I don't know the name.
Looks like an adult, but
yeah,
okay.
The one who's got the one who
the anger issues. Yes. So the Still Force, he's clearly from 2 decades prior, so he probably actually doesn't have a home to go to. But the other forces, girl, you're like a doctor who was a volunteer who, like, I'm confused about how y'all are just going to live in this. And she was like, well, I've never had a family before, but you had a job though. I'm confused. Like, it just was like, you had a job, you had friends, you had a community. Like, it's weird how all of them just were like, we can just live together in this house, basically, essentially in the Speed Force, if I'm correct. Yep. We're just gonna live here. Like, wait, what?
Right. So here's my I'm with you. I think Joe leaving the job, and then the episode where he is like, oh no, now I have nothing to do, is in like, oh, that's interesting. Maybe he'll realize he's gonna go back to the job. Let's do that. I'm with you that Cisco leaving makes sense. That's been clear. So these are people, aside from Nora, these are people who have a force in them. Nora is a force who took on a form. the entire thing of like, we need to protect them from her, we need to then get them all together, then the whole solution is that they need to win her over. It was like a philosophical discussion done very oddly, like how all of the forces of the universe are kind of like a family. Sure, but what does that have to do with anything? It just didn't. It reminded me of how we've been talking down our villains all season, because
we talked down Nora in this one. So I mean,
we didn't. The villains talk down another villain. I just was like, what did we waste all of these episodes on? If they weren't trying to kill Nora, if Nora wasn't trying to kill them, if Nora wasn't causing the earthquakes and killing the world, and they weren't killing the world intentionally, like, then what did we waste all of these episodes on?
Yeah, and who is the villain? Literally, because now it's like, I don't understand. So
I think the best part of this episode is when Barry was like, we have to keep them all safe and separate away from Nora. And then he was like, no, we have to get them all back together. And everyone turned to him and went, so now
what?
we believe her? Like, now she's not the bad guy? Now she's right? No one understood what was happening. And I really would love to believe that the actors turned to the writers and went, what is happening?
It was frustrating. And the thing about it too is now Frost is back. Like, the whole thing was just like, child, what? I don't understand the purpose of these, 11 episodes? I guess I don't understand the purpose of these first 11 episodes. And we have a long way to go. When I say we have a long way to go, we have many more episodes to go. And so if the theme of the season, because you know every season has a theme, if the theme of this season is family, then just say that. Just say we don't have any villains as family. And we're going to focus on family. Just say
right.
That. Whatever it is that we're doing, where we're pretending to have villains and then we make them good people, and then I don't want any of this. So please, if we're gonna focus on the positive, we're just gonna talk about family, and just let it be family. And so even at the end of this episode, which also, I'm not even gonna lie to you, it was weird because Barry is like, oh, we should consider having kids, and the entire time I was looking at him like it wasn't an inviting face. Like, she was not like warmly looking at him like, oh my gosh, yes, yes, yes. She really was kind of looking at him like, I don't know about that. Like, she was replaying the last couple of days with those kids, like, in her mind, and she was like, I don't think I want kids because these people are on my nerves. Like, it was really like she was doing that in her head. And then all of a sudden she just gets up and leaves, and he's like, where are you going? And she's like, well, let's start a family. What?
Yeah.
I was like, and then he makes an impulse reference, which reminds me of how campy The Flash truly is, because I'm like, yes, we know impulse is coming. And then you make an impulse comment, right before you guys are gonna have sex, which is also an odd thing. But right. I mean, I just was like, what is happening?
Yeah, it's weird. It's so weird. Let's rate this. Where are you giving this episode of The Flash? What are you rating it?
For me, it feels like a poop for both combined. So here's the thing. I like the special effects, minus that I liked most of the special effects. Just when they were in the Speed Force with all of them, that was really tricky to watch. But I do still enjoy the special effects on the show. I think that's great. But in terms of storyline, where are we headed? Like, truly, because now we have no villains. So I don't know what's happening. Other than the fact that we know that Iris is going to be pregnant.
Right.
And we might not even see that. We might do a 20-year time jump. Who knows? We might do a 5-year time jump. I'm not even entirely sure. But we know that they are working to build a family of their own. Great. But what does that mean? I mean, so I'm really stuck because I want to say poop or spoon. It's definitely not a kitten. Like, there's no way that this is a kitten for me. But I'm still like, is it poop? Is it a spoon? Like, there are parts that I did enjoy, but I don't need Frost back, particularly so early. And then that's where she's doing this, I want to basically convict the man I have a crush on for his crimes, and now I'm free. What? I don't know. I don't know. What about you? How are you feeling?
I'm also giving it a poop. Genuinely, the only special effect that I thought was cool was when Nora was in what I was calling COVID world, which is because no one was there.
No one was there.
I was like, oh, I remember this. This was a really nice time. Like animals started roaming the street. I remember that. So that's where she was. Otherwise, I was like, this was a waste of 11 episodes. Especially because, as I said before, like they knew that they would have a child in the future, and at no point were trying to make her, even when they thought that he was going to disappear from the face of the universe, the multiverse, whatever. So now they're like, oh yeah, let's try to make a kid. Fine. But and I agree with you about this Killer Frost thing. Literally, she was convicted to life with no chance of parole, and then by capturing escaped convicts, that gave her parole. That's not how that works. You have
literally not. And also, it's been 2 weeks. It's also been 2 weeks though. Right. Like that's the thing. And also, they were like, well, plus a letter from the Flash. Didn't the Flash already speak out on her behalf, and she turned that down? So I was like, what?
It's honestly, it negated the entire storyline. Why did we even do that then?
Why do we have such high stakes only to let her get out immediately after?
Right.
I'm like confused.
Yeah.
Truly confused. So,
any predictions?
I mean, again, I'll predict that it's about family. I mean, you know, clearly we're going to, she's going to be pregnant or there's going to be a baby. And, you know, I miss the episodes where Barry was catering to Iris when he was legitimately courting her and always talking about how great she was. I miss those moments. So maybe they'll bring those back, you know, since she is pregnant and, you know, maybe they'll bring those back. Cause I do miss when he's just like waking her up to a breakfast, you know, for 500 people, but it's just the two of them. Yeah. I'm like, why are there 37 pancakes for the two of you? Please tell me more. So I miss that. So maybe they'll bring that back, but we know that the next episode is goodbye to Cisco as he moves to Central City, maybe Miami, maybe somewhere else, which I was like, what? But we do know that they are not killing his character. You know, the showrunner has definitely said they're going to keep him alive so that he can come back anytime he wants to. So I'm just curious to see how we're going to say goodbye. What about you? How are you feeling?
I think that here's my prediction. We're going to meet future children, and Iris will not be pregnant till the end of the season.
Oh, okay. Cool.
That's my prediction. I mean, why?
I think it's kind of a letdown, but I'm like, I feel like that's kind of a letdown. And I'm not saying I disagree because they are likely to do that. But I feel like it's kind of a letdown in the sense that if I already met my grown kids, well, why do I have to take care of a baby? I mean, like, you know, like I'm just thinking to myself, like, that's really the short end of the stick for me. Like, I have met my adult child. Well, hell, I don't want to raise you. I mean, like, I don't want to have to go through like the pregnancy, the newborn phase. If you could just come out here full adults. Welcome.
I mean, but we've seen how they raise full adults and they seem to not be good at it. So they need the child.
They need the child rearing years to kind of figure it out, I guess. Yeah. But I'm still kind of like, okay, hello. But I still really adore, you know, the fact that like, if I can go ahead and get a 21-year-old, then, you know.
Yeah.
So let's skip to the fun part.
All right. Well, let's head over to our performer of the weeks.
All right. So how are you feeling from, well, last week, this week? Are you going to say the same one for both? Like, how do we feel?
So how do we feel? That's so tough. I don't know. I don't know who my performer is. I think I'm actually going to go with the woman who plays Zari, and right now I'm blanking on her name. One moment, I'm going to pull that up for us. I'm so sorry. Zari is played by Tala Ash. Yes, thank you. She is my performer of the weeks because last week she had to play multiple versions of Zari, plus sing, plus deal with emotional, relationship drama. And then this week she had to just sit there and take misogyny. So I want to give it to her for doing all of that. That's who I'm giving
JFK, JFK and the misogyny.
Yeah.
I was like, I mean, I get that they were being true to the time period.
Right. Absolutely.
Which is fine. Absolutely fine. But I definitely was kind of like,
but her cleverness to realize that she could, if she was like, play into the misogyny, I'll type. I'm the typist. And then typing with the thumbs was just such a cute little nod. So Tala Ash gets my performer of the week. What about you?
So last week it was Tala Ash for sure, because that performance, knockout. I definitely enjoyed her performances on the X Factor. This week I'm actually going to give it to Taylor Buck, who plays Nat or Natalie Irons, because I really enjoyed her character on Superman and Lois. So yeah, that's going to be my 2 for the past 2 weeks. So let's dive into character style icon of the weeks. How you feeling?
Surprisingly, I thought that I would probably pick someone from the X Factor, because I was like, this is costumey and fun, but that was not it. Actually, I'm giving it to Thunder Grace multiple times, specifically when Anissa and Grace get to wear their like superhero for the last time, when they like finally get their powers back. I was like, oh yes. They looked amazing. And then to see them in the white outfits, the white dress that Anissa wore was just beautiful. And then the suit that Grace wore was also really nice. So Thunder Grace are my style icons for both weeks. What about you?
Yeah, no, last week, actually, I am going to give it to Zari, because I loved her costumes, wild funky costumes on the X Factor. So just specifically like the performance outfits I like.
Yeah.
This week, actually, is going to give it to Nafisa as Anissa for that white ensemble at the party. And honorable mention would definitely go to Grace for that white suit. I love white. Like, I wear it a lot, but it also gets dirty so quickly. And so it like makes me so nervous every time I'm wearing it, which is 4 to 5 times a week, but it doesn't matter. I'm still nervous every time. But I think there's something so beautiful about a white pantsuit and a long white dress that's just so like summertime vibes, super just chill, and I love it. So I am really, really thrilled with their outfits this week. So yeah.
Absolutely. I totally agree.
Now, WTF moment. Whew, I feel like I didn't have one last week. I can't recall, but this week it's definitely when Jen absorbed JJ. I was like, oh, so the way to kill her is just to absorb her?
Yeah.
Got it.
Interesting. I'm going to give, so last week it was definitely Luke getting shot.
Oh, right. Yes.
That was and then I guess also Jefferson potentially being dead as well.
Dead too. Right. I should say the deaths. The deaths
were last
the potential
season.
death.
And then this week, I think the reveal of John Henry Irons was a big one for me. But also Lala coming back to death and being the way they ended Black Lightning.
Literally awesome. His last words, like, see, somebody stuck it to you. That's the last line of the whole series?
Right. I was like, you could have ended on like the family that it was about. No, you want to end it on, all right, fine. So that was I was like, what? Yeah.
Like, wow.
All right. I think that wraps it up for today's packed episode of Super Lady Hero Hour. We will be back at our regular time again next week. But until then, KB, where are you and where can everyone keep up with you?
Same place as usual, the Lady KB, TheLadyKayB on Instagram and Twitter only. Please watch that. I upload all the things that I do, whether it be my critics chat reviews of the films and TV shows of the week, or whether it be interviews. Something incredible that I feel like everyone should watch is a new Netflix culinary docuseries. It is out today. It is called High on the Hog. The rest of the title is exceptionally long, but it's essentially about how African American cuisine has changed the foundation of this nation. It is extraordinary. It is exceptional. The food is so good in every single episode. And I was able to interview the host, Steven, and that's on Nerdophiles right now, available right now to watch our conversation. And it's just such a rich docuseries. It's actually only 4 episodes, so a pretty easy watch, but definitely watch on a full stomach, because I can guarantee you 100% you will want nothing more than to eat everything that they are offering on that show. And so, Yell, what are you up to this week? Where can everyone find you?
I am everywhere at Yell Teagle. That's YAELTYGIEL. You can find me on Sundays talking about Law and Order Special Victims Unit, the greatest show of all time, over on Fanversation's YouTube channel. That is the full title. Don't you laugh. That is the full title of the show. And you can find me on Twitch Mondays playing Zelda on Super Nintendo, Wednesdays trying to play Jumanji on the Xbox. Both streams are me trying to play. So if you're expecting someone to succeed, not the channel for you. But also, I believe this Friday, a new episode of Have You Tried Not Being a Podcast, the queer pop culture podcast from that hashtag show drops. It'll be available on YouTube, Instagram, and wherever you listen to podcasts. And that is it. We will see you next time for more Super Lady Hero Hour.
That's right. Catch you next time. Thanks for watching, listening.
Bye.